Hello and welcome to my podcast. Do me a favor, subscribe to the John Keim Report wherever you get your podcast. You're watching on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You can find us there as part of Empire Media. That's AMPIRE. Always much appreciated when you tune in. As you can tell, I'm out here in my little hostage room out at the commander's facility. We're out here for the rookie minicamp, but things have changed because there was some big news today, and I'll get to the rookie minicamp in a minute. But let's start with the sizable, significant news that came out around 4:15 this afternoon. And that was that the Snyders have entered into an exclusive agreement to sell the team to the group led by Josh Harris for $6.05 billion. Now, they've entered into a 90-day window to get NFL approval, or else then if they don't, then it goes back out. But that's where they're at. So don't worry about what could go wrong because they're in a really good spot right now. It's a significant step, folks. The meetings, the next owners meetings will take place May 22nd and 23rd in Minnesota. Now, I was told that the owners will be updated on the situation at that time and that a vote would occur in the coming months. So there's zero guarantee that it would take place there. And because there's still a lot more work to get done to get this to the place where they are going to vote on approval of this situation. There are at least 12 limited partners on the release that are received from about this move. There were 12 names listed as limited partners with the Harris Group, and it was listed as amongst others. So all those limited partners have to be vetted by the NFL, and they still need to make sure that any legal issues with Dan Snyder are taken care of from the league standpoint, that he's not going to do anything there that they're going to worry about. But I think entering into an exclusive agreement is a pretty damn good place to be for all involved. I was told that, a lot of people ask about the indemnification. I was told with the Harris Group that they're not going to indemnify Snyder outside of the normal course of a sale. In other words, so as part of this, you're buying the stadium, you're buying the facility. Once you buy it and something happens at the stadium, well, Josh Harris is on the hook for that. They can't go back to Snyder and do it. Just like if you bought a house and 2 weeks later the HVAC breaks down, it's on you. And I know that because that happened to me. Anyway, that aside. But with the legal stuff, they were not going to, my understanding was that was not going to be part of any sort of an agreement with the Harris Group. So, and I think the Mary Jo White thing still hangs over the situation, of course. And that was a big thing for the NFL and making, anyways. So still more work to be done, but it's this was a significant step. So it's in a really good spot. This is something that I know a few people myself included, have been hearing that an announcement could be coming very, very soon. Now, I will say there have been other times where I know a lot of people jumped the gun a month and a half ago. Even during that time, the people I talked to are like, no, it's not there yet. No, it's not there yet. And there are other times where they were maintaining that. Well, this week, the same people were saying, think there may be something this week. And, it was one of those within the next week, and it could be any time. And I heard that not just from the Harris Group, but also from people with the Commanders. So that's where we're at with that. So that was obviously they knew what was coming, but here we are. There's work to be done, but you can feel really good about where it's at. And I think you can feel pretty good about this group. And I go back to, it's funny because I was just on with WTOP in Washington and they asked, where did it go wrong for Snyder? And my answer was at the beginning, because at the beginning, I remember a conversation that I had with an executive here after Snyder bought the team. He's like, he had some optimism because, he loved the team and he had the money, blah, blah, blah. But he was afraid of would he know how to put together a team? And the answer was no, he didn't, because he tried to play fantasy football early on, but it was also who he surrounded himself with, the people that he trusted and listened to. And you talk to people who have known him for a long time and people who met him recently, and they all say the same thing, that he trusted the wrong people and it got him into trouble. And it cost him what had been a pride and joy for him. And so I think with the Harris Group, they're professional, they have experience running a sports team. Dan never had experience running a sports team. Really didn't have experience even playing it or being part of a team. And not that you have to necessarily, but I think you have to understand team dynamics. And that's not on the field. It's just dealing with people and dealing with people in an organization. And I look at a guy like Joe Gibbs. In fact, I'm going to read you this quote from him. And then let me read you this quote from, where is this quote? All right, it's a statement from Joe Gibbs about this, and I want to talk about Gibbs for a minute because I think it matters here. Anyway, Gibbs said, I've had the opportunity to get to know Josh Harris and the leadership team during this process and fully support his efforts to lead the new ownership group of the Commanders. The NFL has grown a great deal since my time as a coach in this league, but what hasn't changed is my belief that with great leadership from the top, the drive to win on the field, and a commitment to culture, championship teams are created. Josh and his team share these values, and I am committed to doing what I can to reconnect this great franchise with the community, fan base, and alumni. So that's, again, you look at Harris, they own the 76ers, they own the New Jersey Devils. They have a lot of experience owning sports teams. And so you understand the dynamics, you understand how to operate, you understand who you need to surround yourself to build a good organization. And the people I've dealt with in this group have been very top notch. So, I think that's going to put this in a good spot. Now, I'm happy for you guys, especially when this goes through in the final terms, because again, it's still got to get NFL approval. But I feel really good for you because I think one thing that I know from covering this team for so long is what people get tired of is this team used to be a source of massive pride for this area. I moved here in 1989, and my God, was it a big deal? Of course, you all know that. And what it meant to the community, what it meant to the fan base outside of Washington. So Tim Meek, I'm thinking about you, like, you're over in Indianapolis, you're rooting for this team because of what it meant to be a Washington Redskins fan. Well, that pride had fallen away, and you couldn't even you couldn't even feel it on the field because they didn't give you enough hope there. They didn't give you enough success there, or enough success to make you feel good. Well, maybe the owner's like this, but at least you got this winning franchise. It wasn't that at all. It was, you had to deal with this and you had to deal with this too. And that combination made it awfully tough. So I think you can at least, when this is a done deal, then I think you can feel like it's going to be run in a professional way. Now, success, you're still going to have to build on that. But I think the days of all these lawsuits and all this other stuff and all the outside shenanigans will go by the wayside. And I think that's going to help this fan base start to grow back to what it was. And then you complete it by winning. That's what's going to happen. But the first step is this one. It's a significant one. And then the next step is getting NFL approval. And then you can start throwing your parades. And so I think, but again, I think, I've heard good things about the Harris group and about them as, from people who are non-partisans, and about how they do their business, how they run the organization, things that they look for. One thing is, and it's funny because analytics is a big part of what they do. So I think I told you that before, but I don't know why I brought that up, but I just thought about it. The other part of it is the name. Don't get your hopes up for some early review of the name. I know he'll be asked about it, but I wouldn't get your hopes up that there's going to be a big movement there by them to come in and do it. They're well aware of the most important thing they need to do is come in here and build a good organization. If they come in with the name as a top priority, to me, they're not going to succeed because it's not the most important thing here. But I can tell you, they know that.
The adventure park is ziplining through the trees. It's climbing from platform to platform. It's even an axe throwing competition with your friends. But what the adventure park really is opportunity. Reconnecting with friends and family, accomplishing a challenge, and making lasting memories. So book your visit today and choose your own adventure.
What I came here to do today is talk about the rookie minicamp. And I was going to have on a guest to help talk about it, but the day changed. So talked about that. Now I am going to talk about the rookie minicamp because you still want to know about them, don't you? And so I'm going to tell you about a little bit what I saw. It's hard to sit there and watch all these guys. People want to know about some of the undrafteds or the tryout guys. I'm not watching the tryout guys to see what they're going to do. I'm focusing on the draft picks, the guys that I need to see and learn about right away. Tryout guys or the undrafted guys, will watch them more in camp. There are a couple tryout guys that, that were, I guess, paid more attention to because you think they may have a role. And I'll get to some of those in a minute, but let's start with Emmanuel Forbes. The first thing that jumps out, folks, he's got skinny legs, man, skinny leg dude. And, hey, the weight is a part of his story. If he weighed 185 pounds, he's a top 10 pick and he's not here, but he has the skinny legs. He's a playmaker. So he's here. Is it going to be an issue? Well, it wasn't an issue in college. So will it be an issue here? I don't know. All I know is he played in the SEC. He was durable, didn't miss games, and he was productive. That's what I know. And I think he's going to be a similar guy in the NFL. The durability, you never know, because anybody can get hurt. He may not get hurt because he's skinny. He might get hurt because it's football. And everybody gets hurt at some point, whether you're big, small, whatever. But what you look for are the traits. What do you see? Well, he was playing a lot inside today. And that was a little bit of a surprise because, you view him as an outside corner, but he's playing inside. And I like to see that because you want to see how this guy handles it. To me, he's always ready to pounce on a play. And I think that's one thing he does very well. Now, he's going to have to watch that because teams will take advantage of that. But he does a good job kind of staying when he's in his back pedal, staying in a crouch and being ready to explode. And there was a play where he did pick off a pass. He was covering Kyrick McGowan, who was in the slot, comes across the middle, and Forbes is ready to pounce, and he cuts right inside, picks the ball off. Now, he's not facing NFL. He's not facing guys who are going to start in the NFL, but it was the traits and what he saw and the explosion that really, to me, jumped out at that. So you take it for what it's worth. It's a nice play in a rookie minicamp practice by the 16th overall pick. A couple plays later, similar thing where he goes in, he breaks up a pass to the tight end. There were a couple times it looked like he got tripped up by some of that aggressiveness. And that's something he's going to have to watch. There was one time the receiver cuts inside, turns up. And, he got a little bit beat, ball goes the other side. Another time he got turned around a little bit by that. So that's something he's going to have to work on, but the kid can play. And actually the one time when he got turned around, one of the coaches yelled out to him like, well, that was a little different. But the kid he's a smart kid. I talked to him afterwards for about 10, 11 minutes. And he comes across very smart, understands what he's doing out there. And that's one of the things Ron Rivera talked about when we spoke to him before practice is what he learned is like the kind of questions he asks in the meetings and the things that he brings up, the insight, what he sees is different. And so that's partly why the kid makes plays. And so how many times can I use the kid? But that's why Emmanuel makes a lot of plays. And anyway, that's it on him. Number 2, Eric Bieniemy. My God, his presence is going to be felt. If you come out to a practice, you'll feel his energy, his presence. There was one time, so Chris Rodriguez is going through drills with the running backs, individual drills, kind of high stepping, getting the ball knocked out, and he kind of messed up on one little part, so he stops. Well, on these things, the running backs are taught, you got to finish. You got to finish every run. He didn't finish. He heard about it because Eric Bieniemy saw it and barked from 40 yards away. Shit happens. You got to go finish. So he finished. Another time, Bieniemy yells out, I can't play if I don't know the snap count. Now, clearly he can't play anyways because he's older, but the message was to the other players, you don't know the snap count, you're not going to play another time. Huddle was a little bit sloppy. Players and centers weren't connected. So he yelled at the players to get up there, but he also yelled at the center, Nolan Laufenberg, one of the veteran guys like McGowan, those one-year guys allowed to come out, yells at Laufenberg to take control of the huddle. So there is the demand. And one thing Rodriguez talked to us about afterwards was his attention to detail on whether it's the route running or just on the drill or anything like that, just where you have to hold the ball, et cetera. All those details are things that he's going to harp on with Rodriguez. He's another one I paid attention to. And you could see it like when he's going through some of these drills, you're not getting a feel for him running through the hole and all that. But just on some of the drills, they want to get a little bit lower with that shoulder level to protect the ball a little better and make him a more effective power runner. Because let me tell you, folks, guys, he's very solid. He's built very solid. It's like 5'11", 224 pounds. If you looked at the roster that I tweeted online, it says 244. He's 224, and he's every bit of 224. It's a solid dude as a running back. So I saw him running some routes today, and it's hard for me to say like, oh, he looked good running routes because I didn't really see him catch the ball. And one time he ran a wheel route, but the linebacker was right there with him. But, the other thing, he did admit that he was a little bit gassed, and I noticed this during practice because during the individual drills, and this is something I learned just in talking to Rivera, that one of the things he would watch at pro days, for example, is how these guys are in line. Like, if you're second in line, are you always second in line? Or are you sometimes falling back? Well, he was falling back at times. Sometimes he'd be first, sometimes he'd be second. One time I saw him just kind of after one drill, he kind of was crouching down, getting some water, and then he ended up going last because he needed to take a breath. And he admitted later, he told me, I worked out on Monday, and then I thought I'd save my body for later in the week, but it turns out that it left him a little bit gassed. It's almost like if you ever played basketball, though, to me, those first 3 minutes of a game, you're just kind of expending a lot of energy. And that fourth minute, you get a little bit gassed. Well, I think he hit that fourth minute, he got a little bit gassed. but he recovered and he was fine and he learned his lesson. But it was something he was kind of laughing a little bit about afterwards, just because you learned a lesson right away. KJ Henry and Andre Jones, paid attention to them a little bit. I think that sometimes hard to always focus on them because of your angle, that where we're standing, sometimes you need to be behind the play. But I did watch I talked to KJ Henry after. He's tall, narrow shoulders, but has some length. I think I talked to Jordan Reed about him, ESPN NFL draft analyst, going to play that, I think, on Monday. But one of the things he said, and I think I can see it, that he goes, he thinks he doesn't have a high ceiling, but I do think there could be a higher floor for him, especially as a 5th round pick. But it's hard to say, like, you don't really get a feel for some of the moves, and he's not facing NFL tackles at that point. Whereas Andre Jones, the 7th round pick on the other side, was facing Braden Daniels. And that looked like a pretty good matchup. Again, it's hard to always, I'm going to give you minor impressions because it's hard. You have to really kind of watch the play, watch the footwork. And from the angles that I'm standing, it's hard to always see that. But there were a couple times I saw Daniels. One time saw him stun him a little bit on a run play to the outside. And then saw a couple of times it looked like Jones. One time looked like he got him, crossed him up a little bit, coming back inside. One time I saw Daniels react pretty well. He is a good athlete. I think that's his strength. So you saw that too, but you need to pay a lot more attention, a lot closer attention to him. Same with the Ricky Stromberg. When you're facing the guys that you're going to, I want to see them against the physical action, right? That's where you really learn about them. But so we'll get more on them later. And then Quan Martin was not here today. He was excused, had to deal with some personal family issues that are going on. So he was not here. So we didn't get to see him. And then the one undrafted guy that I wanted to bring up is Kazmir Allen, because he could factor in as a kick returner. He's from UCLA, smaller guy, but has some quickness, but he's just smaller. That's it. But he's not. When I talk about Emmanuel Forbes being small, it's skinny. Allen is just short, but he's built okay. And I think he's someone who's going to be interesting to watch. How does he factor in that return game? So anyway, those are my early impressions. Wanted to still do that, even though there's a big day with the Josh Harris situation. There you go. So I'll be back on Monday with, I believe, unless something else develops over the weekend, I'll be back with ESPN draft analyst Jordan Reed as we go over all the draft picks. And would he have taken a quarterback when Will Levis was there at 16? Talk to you next time.